Did you know that the first neurology biosimilar for multiple sclerosis has just received FDA approval? I am Dr. Derrick Robertson, a neurologist as well as an MS specialist, and I'm here to walk you through what you can expect with this new drug type coming to market. Okay, well, with the caveat that do not have a crystal ball on how this will go over the coming weeks to months and years with the use of biosimilars for relapsing MS. I do have a knowledge over the last handful of years with the use of generics for relapsing MS. And so my assumption, I hope correctly, will be that there will be a similar process that unfolds over the coming, again, weeks to months and perhaps years. So the first question I can anticipate being asked by patients is, who will this affect? Will it affect me? What would be some reasons why I would either have to or want to switch to a biosimilar? And then maybe arming us all with questions to ask us as your doctor, as your healthcare providers. So first is, who will this affect? It will not affect everyone, I think, right away. So if somebody is on a brand name biologic, I do think there's a very reasonable chance that the conversation will get brought up either proactively by your healthcare provider about the possibility of a biosimilar being substituted for the continued use of your biologic. So again, and the specifics of that would be if you're currently on Tysabri or natalizumab, the possibility of using a biosimilar, a version of natalizumab, Tyruko, could be brought up. What would be some of those reasons for switching? So the first, again, using the past experience of generic use of medications for MS would be a letter from your insurance company. Sometimes the health insurance companies will send the letter directly to you as the patient. Sometimes they send it to both us as the providers of your healthcare, along with you as the patient. And so never just assume that if you get something in the mail, even if it says that this will also be sent to your healthcare provider, that's not always true. So updating your doctor's office on if you receive a letter saying a possible switch to a biosimilar could be the right thing to do for you, that would be the right time to engage your doctor's office that helps you with your multiple sclerosis and have that conversation. That's one option. Another one could just be a recommendation from us as your healthcare providers, that as we learn about the benefits of a biosimilar medication for our relapsing MS patients, we will start to proactively talk to you about it in the clinic visits to say, here's what we've learned about biosimilars and why it might be an option for you and your relapsing MS. Sometimes patients prefer to be on the cheapest available thing for whether it's out-of-pocket costs or overall healthcare costs. So biosimilars offer some of that promise because in other diseases where they've been used, they've helped decrease healthcare costs. All right, so the last thing maybe to consider is what questions should we be asking to our healthcare providers if I was a patient? And so that's what I'd like to cover at this last section with you. So the first one, and probably the easiest one to think, is what has your experience been so far with other patients? And using, again, generic medication experiences as a starting point in that conversation, I think is valid and useful. And it's where I'll start as I start to talk about this with patients and in our practice is, how has your patient experience been when you transition to new drugs, in particular generics? And has that been similar so far with biosimilars? But the caveat that is, please remember, this is uncharted territory, and it's unlikely that your doctor is going to have a ton of other patients that have already navigated through this process, because this is the first of its kind conversation, biosimilars, and there is very likely to be some uniqueness through it. But I have very real and consistent trust in the FDA and just how rigorous that approval process is for biosimilars, and the fact that there was a completed clinical trial with this particular biosimilar for use in relapsing MS that helped it get that FDA approval, that I'll have a confidence moving forward and seeing its benefit for our patients with relapsing MS.